do have a quorum. Commissioner Kirk is, I believe he's up in the Atlanta area. You are praying tight. Keep him in your prayers this evening. Always good to see Mr. Houston here as well. Thank you for being back. He has refused to go down too, so thank you. Okay. I have nothing by way of a chairman's report, and with that, I'm going to move right into the hearing and actions on rezone matters, special use permits, etc. Mr. Houston, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, the first rezone request tonight is Clayton Hendricks for his mother, Floyd May Hendricks, is requesting to rezone approximately 3.85 acres of her 40.44 acre property. This property is split by a road from the remaining property. Ms. Hendricks would like to rezone this portion from A2 to R1 so she can subdivide the parcel into two parcels so she can give her son a home site. Property is located on map 90, parcel 36 on Doug Drake Road in District 4. The vote of the Planning and Zoning Commission was a vote of 5-0 to recommend approval of the rezone request.
Very well. What we'll do is I'll start off by asking the petitioner, in this case, Mr. Hendricks, or a member of the family, if they would like to speak in favor of the petitions. And then we'll open the floor for those that might want to oppose it, and then we'll come back and offer the petitioner a chance to rebut that before we take that into consideration for a vote. With that, is Mr. Hendricks available? Would you care to address the board? Anything you'd like to say in favor of anything to add to Mr. Houston's? Okay, all right. Well, then I'll open the floor. Is there anybody here tonight that would speak in opposition of this application? I don't see any. All right. Are you satisfied then if we just proceed with the vote then, sir? Yes, sir. All right. We'll close the public hearing then and open up the business portion. And so the application is to rezone approximately 3.85 acres. It already has a house on that property. And to rezone from A2 to R1. Do I have a motion on the table here? Motion to approve, Chairman. I have a motion to approve this.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion on this item?
I think this was a little bit out of the norm, wasn't it, Mr. Houston, for the size of the lot that was being subdivided, and it being totally surrounded by A1 against chicken houses, farm to the backside, is that right?
A1 and A2.
Okay. I know that.
All right. Any other comments or discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll take the vote then. Commissioner Allen?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, sir. Very good then. Item number 2, Karen Houston.
Okay, sir, the next rezone request is Michelle Stutchell. Her mother, Cheryl Stutchell, is requesting to rezone her 6.46 acre property from A2 to RR to subdivide off approximately 2 acres to give to her daughter for her home site. Property is located on map 27, parcel 177 on Booger Hill Road in District 2. The vote of the Planning and Zoning Commission was a vote of 5-0 to recommend approval of the rezone request.
Very good. So, Ms. Stutchell here. Would you care to speak or to add to Mr. Houston?
I would a little, please.
Please, please.
All right. Well, first, I'd like to say good evening. I appreciate you all for being here, taking time with your family. It is appreciated. I've been a member of this community since 1991. Been working here since I graduated from high school. My mother does live at 3363 Booger Hill Road. I currently live next to Zeb's Barbecue on Highway 29. She has been disabled since 2008, and her condition has gotten worse. So we are requesting to zone from agricultural to residential so I can look over her and be close to her and be her caregiver. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. At this point, is there anybody present tonight that would speak in opposition? Please, ma'am, if you would come forward.
I live at 540 Wedgewood Drive, which is the lot directly behind Miss Stuchel. We share a stream. We're in an area that's an old subdivision. It's older than 40 years old, and everybody in the area has deed restrictions which say you can't subdivide a single lot. We've all abided by that for 40 years. We all like it that way. Ms. Stuchel has asked to subdivide this lot before, and she was told about the deed restrictions, and she's done it. Now this is the third time. I was told at the zoning board meeting that there's a new rule that the state has put out that they don't have to pay any attention to deed restrictions that were put in before 1978. I can't find any information on that. But that's the reason that the board voted for it, is that they say you should be opening the land up that has deed restrictions over 40 years. The rest of the community still lives under these deed restrictions, and we like these deed restrictions. And I have nothing personally against Ms. Stuchel, and I understand her point of view, but if you start to open up these deed restrictions in this area, you're going to have a lot of land that's started to subdivide as people buy in, or they want to make a house for their child or whatever. We've lived here 40 years. We support the community. We abide by our rules, and we'd like to stay with the deed restrictions.
Can I get the spelling of your last name, please?
C-A-R-R-E-I-R-A.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody else tonight that would speak? Please come forward, ma'am.
My name is Susan Benish, and it's Benesch, and I live at 419 Wedgewood Drive, and one more houses in my area, and so that's all I have to say. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you. Anybody else tonight? Anybody? Okay, with that, Ms. Stuchel, I'll give you the last opportunity to speak. If you'd like to say anything in response, or if you're satisfied with your position on this.
I'm satisfied with my position.
Okay, all right. We'll close the public meeting then. And we'll take it to the board here for consideration. So the application is to rezone 6.46 acre property from A2 to RR for an additional home site. And with that, I'll open the floor up for a vote on this.
I make the motion that we approve.
I have a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Allen, a second. Okay, is there any comments or discussion on this?
My discussion would be that her entry, point of entry to that property is Booker Hill Road,
Yes, sir.
not Wedgewood Drive. And I know that was all part of Rural Jenkins Farm, 400 acres. It was split up back in the, I guess, early 70s. So, I mean, I didn't even know that was a subdivision there, and I didn't ever know that this was a part of it, because you entry from Booker Hill, you don't use that common drive, so I don't see you as being part of that subdivision.
We cannot access the road from
Wedgewood's a
our
private drive as well, excuse me for interrupting. I notice it's private.
Mr. Chairman.
Wedgewood is actually owned by Kim and David Butler, that live on it.
There was some talk about 1978 and whatnot that I might be able to clear up a little bit.
Okay.
So, putting aside deed restrictions, covenants, whatever you want to call that, from the county's land regulatory standpoint, subdivision regulations were first adopted in Madison County in 1978, and Section 9.7 of your subdivision regulation states that if there is a subdivision of lots that were created by the subdivision process in or after 1978, then that re-subdivision would have to go back through the subdivision regulations. However, since this is a subdivision in the sense of a verb, not a noun, the land was divided, but it was not through a subdivision regulatory process. That's where the 1978 comes into play. As far as deed restrictions, just for the public's benefit, that's not something that the county enforces. That's between private landowners to enforce covenants and restrictions. So that may or may not be the case, but that's not what the government does.
Okay.
So regardless of if the deed itself has a deed restriction in it, does that take a precedent to what this body does?
Doesn't have any impact on what this body does. It may have an impact on whether the student's a civil matter, correct?
John, I have the deed, and there is no mention of covenant in the deed.
Okay.
And this goes back to beyond the person that they.
Again, I appreciate the clarification, and I also appreciate that when we purchase property, sometimes we do rely on, we hope, we believe what we see on a document. But in this case, county ordinance or county law supersedes.
Well, it doesn't supersede necessarily. It's just this body regulates from a zoning standpoint, from a subdivision standpoint. And again, your subdivision restriction there does not apply because this was pre-78. Ms. Stuchel may or may not be able to subdivide that land depending on what the deed records say. I heard what Ms. Fortson said, so apparently not based on that research. But again, we don't do a title search and a legal determination on every piece of land. We're only worried about zoning.
You're saying there's nothing on this?
Yeah, I have some.
All right, well, on the floor we have a motion and a second to approve. Are there any other comments or any other discussion on this application? All right, seeing none, Commissioner Strickland.
Yes.
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 All right, so that application is approved then. On to item number 3, Mr. Houston.
Okay, the third rezone request is Ronnie Martin, who is requesting to rezone approximately 1 1/4 acres of his 31.15 acre property from A1 to B to subdivide and sell with an existing store. The property is located at 2676 Highway 106 North on map 36, parcel 50 in District 2. The vote of the Planning and Zoning Commission was a vote of 5 to 0 to recommend approval of this rezone request.
Mr. Martin, would you care to speak on your behalf then, sir?
Well, the property location is at 3756. I live at 2676. But, it was built for business back years ago in 91, and I used it for business up until a few years ago, and I don't have any use for it anymore, and I was wanting to sell it. And I was under the impression that it was already business because I have been paying business tax on it since 91.
And what's the correct address for the property?
3756.
Okay, all right, very good. Is there anybody here tonight that would speak in opposition to Mr. Martin's request? All right, sir, are you satisfied? Just want to go to a vote from the board then? All right, we'll close the public portion, open up the business, and I'll open the floor for a motion regarding the rezone from A1 to B for the 1.25 acres at 3756 Highway 106 North.
I make a motion to rezone.
I have a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. any discussion on this request?
Thank you.
Okay, we will continue on with statements and remarks. We have items 4 through 8 on our agenda. Those being just a discussion on SPLOST projects. We put out bids for cleaning service for county facilities. Item number 6, I'm going to ask the board to actually consider this for a vote on a resolution tonight because of the timing. There's an application that needs to be completed by the 1st of July. And then item 7 is the 2019-2020 agreement with the Public Defender's Office. And last is the Recreation Department's facilities use agreement. So if there's anybody that wants to speak on any of those items, at this time, we'll certainly open the floor.
Does that include item 4?
It does, sir.
Good.
Yeah.
I was figuring.
Right after she does, yeah.
My name is Adrian Simmons, and I'm a longtime resident and a property owner in Madison County. And an incident occurred at the Madison County Rec Department on April 23rd of 2019 with my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, who's wheelchair bound. He is wheelchair bound. And there was some Little League board members' cars parked in front of the concession stand and people sitting around the backstop of Field 3 at the Rec Department. And she was unable to get him through, and she approached the Little League board member at the time that was there, and I'm sure it was not as friendly as we would have hoped, you would have hoped, but because she couldn't get him through to the bathroom, and was told she would need to just go tell those people to move their chairs. And I provided each of you with a copy of the email that she went home and sent to the Little League, and received a scathing response from Charles Branson. I have a copy of the email if anyone would like to read both emails. And it was responded to with no name signed. I had to do some digging to find out who wrote it. It was from Madison County Little League, which gives the impression that that's the stance Little League takes for handicapped people, which if we know should not be the case. He mocked her for an obvious typo, made the statement, should we only be respectful to people in wheelchairs? I find that offensive. Handicapped people have to deal with enough, much less people with attitudes like that. My issue is it happened on Rec Department property that I pay taxes for and is governed by the Board of Commissioners. I took this straight to Robin the next morning. She's who found out who wrote it. And by not signing your name, everyone doesn't know Little League is not governed by Madison County, by the Rec Department. So it appears that it's coming from here, because it starts, you're at their facilities. So I sent the email to you guys, sent it to Robin. Even up until last week, Mr. Branson was still on Facebook arguing with people, which shows there's been no kind of censoring of him. Little League does not pay to use these facilities, and they should behave better. They should be bound by the same code of conduct that county employees are bound by, because that's who they're representing. And I do not believe that if an employee of Madison County made the comments, that does not give them a right to be hateful and create libel in the county. They run the concession stand. Why are we not running the concession stand? Why is the Rec Department not running the concession stand? When I was in high school, I worked there. Why all of a sudden why are we giving up that income? You know, we're building $30,000 playgrounds. What are we doing to improve the Rec Department facilities? Because it's not going into the bathrooms. Lord knows they're the same bathrooms from 35 years ago when I played. But we got this new $30,000 playground from what I understand. Soccer fields are great, but what about the ball fields? You can stand at home plate on the senior league field, look down the third baseline. You cannot see the person on third's ankles. The drop-off is so bad. We used to have the best facilities around. By far, what has happened? Go to Diamond Hill. Look at the playground there and the grass and all grown up around it. What has happened? Robin says she needs more help. And I understand that. But there's got to be some initiative, and there's got to be some accountability. You got to have people willing to make the changes that need to be made. Fields 4 and 5, I ain't even gonna talk about their bathroom. It's so bad. We went to Hart County, guys. Hart County's facilities were better than ours. That's sad. And they had a big sign up paid for by Splice. Now I know I'm not ignorant. I know money's a thing. I know you can't just say, well, here's $100,000. Let's go do this and that. But there's ways to make money. Why aren't we running the concession stand? Why aren't we having ball tournaments? There are things that can be done that produce income. And if the income produced goes straight into the general fund, not back into that part, that's wrong. That is wrong. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that's, again, hearsay. But we don't even play by the same rules as other counties. In basketball, in softball. We go to play All-Stars and we get blown out because we play by different rules here. You're setting our kids up, not you. I'm not talking about you. Volleyball is taking off.
You can, everybody else does.
Okay. Volleyball has taken off. What about facilities for basketball, volleyball? The old high school gym, you could run a concession stand and play basketball all day on Saturday and make no telling how much on a concession stand. It takes some initiative, and it takes leadership. And I will say, I don't know the answer. If it's to get rid of Little League and it be county run, I don't know. Because, again, I know money is a thing. I'm begging y'all, think about our kids. We are hemorrhaging to travel ball. Hemorrhaging kids to travel ball. I don't have to fill this room up with people in support because you can just look at the numbers. And I don't want my kids to play travel ball right now. You know, I want to stay in the county. So I ask that y'all, if you could, consider what we've been through with the Little League and know that there's a problem. It's my people. Thank y'all, and I didn't mean to yell at you.
Adrian, this is the first issue you've had with handicap, accessible type things over there either. Didn't have a problem before your dad had.
I poke my nose in a lot of places. And people that, with no names involved, people that are close to the county are saying, we don't need any additional expense. We don't need a public park. We don't need water sports. Mr. Chairman, are we in financial strait? We raise the, am I getting the wrong vibrations from some of the county people? Are we in good shape? We raised the taxes last year.
It was year before last. Yes, sir.
We pay our bills. I don't think he wants to talk about it.
Oh, no, I'll talk about it. Hey, this is your opportunity to speak. When we get to item 4, I'll be happy. Item 4, and then certainly item number 8, I'll talk about that one too. So we'll get to it though.
I had this Memorial Day weekend, I had a chance to go to White County. White County got a beautiful place up there for the citizens, a park. And I saw little tots running and playing with brothers and sisters. I saw something I don't see at our ballparks. It's quite different. I also went to the river, 281, where we have canoeing. The officials that told me that these are young people. I'm not going to get one of those canoes. Mr. Chairman, you're not gonna get one either. We put rods in one of them. But, they told me there's 400 people on Memorial Day. People do like water sports. And they had 2 different places over there, but that's a lot of people, just young people. They were not, old people like me, that might well just go walk and look at the birds. Anyway, it's different. But I've talked to a lot of citizens, and they're saying, Bill, that's a good idea. As I left here the other night, I couldn't get through the audience for people talking about, hey, that'd be great to have a park. I ran into a 10-year-old boy the other day. I said, son, do you play ball? He said, soccer. I said, we got good soccer fields for you. He said, but I'd like to fish. Can you find me a place to fish? And then I ran into some of your employees that heard about what we were doing and said, Bill, we don't have a place in town to fish. Get that thing through. I want to fish. So you know I've got a 50-acre lake we're talking about. But I've not had any dialogue with you guys. Nobody talks to me. The hall lady. Do you think we need a park? May I ask you a question?
This is your time to speak, sir.
You're not asking a question?
No, because this is your time to speak.
My time to speak.
Yes, sir.
I like dialogue. I like Tripp to talk to me sometimes. He don't like to talk to me.
You feel free to call. I mean, honestly, I'm a recreation person, but it's your time to talk.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Doster.
Yes.
This location, you know I wear 2 hats. I'm a citizen here in the county, 50 years. But I also am a salesman. I'm serving the public. It's over in your neck of the woods. It's in your district. Would you want to park over your district over at home?
All opinion. Mr. Flick. Mr. Flick.
I like that ovation.
Mr. Flick.
It's your time.
Mr. Flick.
Yes, sir.
It's in the county policy. The commissioners are not supposed to
This
engage
is not
back
place-
because it can discourage
You're telling me I'm
people.
not.
Hello. I know some of y'all, I'm Valerie Fortson. I just wanted to talk to you about item number 8, the rec department or Little League or whatever it's under. So the reason I'm here tonight is ball, whatever it may be, is important. It's important to the community. It's important to me. We moved from Atlanta when I was in 5th grade, and one of the reasons they picked this community was because of the rec department. They knew my sister and I would be happy if there was as much activity at the rec department as there was back then. I have 3 little girls, and I've coached. I coached when I was in my early 20s. I played through high school, and I am super disappointed what's going on. Mainly, my main disappointment right now is what's going on with Little League. We haven't even played Little League, but my daughter's old enough to where she's going to pitching machine. She's a pitching machine. She would have to go to Little League next year. And text messages that I have seen, interactions that I have seen with coaches, with players, it's not a situation that I want to put my children in. And it breaks my heart to say that, because it's what this community is about. It's what builds the kids that we want to grow up to be successful citizens, right? So it's unfortunate that they see all the fighting, that they see the disrespect of, Mr. Simmons in the wheelchair. They see that's probably just one story that we have heard. If there's that disrespect to him, I'm sure there's a lot of other disrespect that we have not seen. So at this point, and I know a lot of other families are the same way, if something doesn't change, it will go out of county, which is completely unfortunate. So I'm willing to help, whatever it may be, but I can't do it myself, and I know y'all can't handle it. I mean, I know y'all can handle it, but I don't know what the solution is. And I'm sure that y'all have an idea, or somebody has an idea of how we can get the rec department back where it needs to be, and
whether it be Little League or a different league or through the rec department or whatever it may be, whatever we need to do, I feel like it needs to happen or it's gonna get worse than it is now. So, thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, we'll move on to the part where we get to talk. And please don't, I caution myself about being too cute sometimes. It really is not an unwillingness to exchange. But it is very true that sometimes if we interject, or if we perhaps you get dialogue and it's not the dialogue you want, it might be construed as hateful or whatever, and I don't want it to be that, okay? So we want to make sure you have unfettered, as long as we keep everything kind of clean, we'll take anything you offer. So item number 4, we have, and as a continued discussion item for future county SPLOST project. This item has been on our agenda because we wanted to entertain those projects, those ideas that might benefit the county. Mr. Fleeman is correct in that he brought in, and it's not scientific, but it is looking at a lot of historical information. Our best guess is that the projected SPLOST that would begin in June of 2020, if approved, would generate or would collect approximately $13,200,000. Given that amount, that's the amount that when we look at these projects, we rack and stack and try to figure out, the board will try to determine, or they will determine, which projects they want to put on a referendum for the voters in Madison County to vote on. We have several that are almost mainstays. Our road department is one of them. We receive right at $750,000 from the state in grant money. $750,000 will pave 1.5 miles of dirt road. 1.5 miles. So, folks, we have to, at this point, we have to set aside some money for roads. And that's not just paving, that's your maintenance, that's gravel, and I know better than most how sensitive roads are in this county. Law enforcement and a number of these public safety, because of the same thing. We receive some money, but we have our general fund, but we also like for people outside the county traveling through to have an opportunity to participate in law enforcement. Law enforcement includes our sheriff's office, our jail, code enforcement, chance program, and our 911 system. So those are items, and you'll see one of those broken out separately here in a minute, but it's actually going to be lumped under law enforcement. Our volunteer fire service, they receive limited funding through the county. It is an all volunteer service, but we want to provide support for them to provide that service. So there are 11 departments, and we have rescue as well. EMS, we have 4 stations. We have almost 300 square miles. 4 stations sounds like a lot until you say 300 square miles. And it is emergency medical service because we need to be treating people on their way out of the county to a hospital. We can't just transport, we want to treat them. Our Industrial Development Building Authority has requested funds, support. This year, our Board of Elections office has requested funds in light of the change. The state is going through a change in how we're going to conduct elections. So we're looking at ways to offset some of the costs there. Our coroner has made a request. Our rec department has a request. I mentioned 911. There will always be a need to address certain things. we operate on a, and I don't know where this will go, but we operate on a VHF system right now. And, as good as it's been, we're perhaps needing to look at something beyond an analog system, so it's expensive. Our transfer station has requested some, it's very limited, but they've made a request. They have equipment down there that they need to maintain. We have the old courthouse, and we'll talk about that in a different item. Our extension office made a small request, and then, as I mentioned, Mr. Fleeman had suggested a property purchase as well. So we have what the request was, and I can tell you the request exceeds that 13.2 million, and therein lies the task. So we have until the end of the month, June 24th, we're going to try to come to some sort of a consensus and vote so that we may have this out in a timely manner for the cities to vote on it, and then to deliver it to our Board of Elections so that they can have it on the ballot in time. So, two things. As a citizen, and anybody that has any particular, you've heard what I just mentioned, if you have strong feelings like some of you have mentioned already about some of these items, I encourage you to have that conversation with your commissioners. And the other part of that, though, is these are competing interests. So appreciate that it's a difficult discussion. The commissioners will have to take into consideration what things that we might be able to fund in our budget versus what items can be funded through SPLOST. Remember, SPLOST cannot pay salaries, it cannot pay service, it can't pay certain things. So we want to, a lot of these may be great ideas, we want to make sure we put the money where, we get the biggest bang for it. So with that, I'll open it up for the commissioners. If there's any comments or discussion on anything, feel free. June 14th, we meet back here as a public meeting to discuss our budget. We have each department all day long, June 14th, to come in here. And June 21st, they'll discuss our budget as well. And between those 2 days, we hope to have all of that reconciled. That is also the timeline to actually have something pretty much firmed up with SPLOST. So please feel free to contact these folks and let them know what's on your heart and what's on your mind. And with that, I'll open it to the commissioners if there's anything that they'd like to present or discuss.
I appreciate everybody coming out and speaking. I just hope everybody realizes that there's a lot of competing interest out there, a lot of good projects. It's a tight window with the limited resources. So just bear with us as we go through. If you have any information that you think we need to know about that hadn't been conveyed, I'd like to hear about it.
Ditto. Number one, public safety to me is critical. Number two, infrastructure. Number three is future. And I do have a recreation background, and I know there are some things that we can take care of in reserves in capital outlay. But you are talking about, we have a benefactor here who is willing to provide a nice amount. And if we could get that supplemented by some of the SPLOST for an indoor facility to take care of, yes, youth, boys and girls clubs, teenagers, senior citizens who have somewhere to walk and also need a bigger area to meet. But that's kind of my thought process. But
for those items I mentioned, I didn't actually go down through there and discuss, that under law enforcement or perhaps EMS, rec department specific projects, there are items that they presented. So again, I want to make sure that you're aware, and if you have any idea, any desire to discuss those or whatever. I want to say I'm up here every day, but I'm not going to be up here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But I'll be back the rest of the month, I promise. But at any time, for any of the commissioners and for me, I avail myself. And it is a difficult, thing. It's almost like you're abandoning one to support another. And it's not the intent here, but, SPLOST, if you don't know anything else about it, is a wonderful thing. It's the best way that we have right now to supplement the taxpayer dollars. And we are able to do it without burdening an individual. It's what, if you're spending anyhow or somebody's spending in our county, will benefit from that. The goal is to get more businesses so that we can get more tax dollars from those businesses. So, again, we're open to suggestions. Any other comments from the commissioners on that?
Well, I just, you know, like you said, until we get more business or industry in the county, we depend greatly on SPLOST, and that's scary. What would we do without it? I don't know. And it's frustrating too to see so many things you want to help or fix or give to or redo or start over and try again, but you only have so much money and you can only stretch it so far. You know, I don't want anybody to ever feel slighted because they didn't get what they wanted. It's just, you can only do so much.
Well, it's easy for me over here going last tonight. Just to echo what you guys have said. I know Mr. Bryan, Mr. Kurt probably say exactly the same thing. When we give money to roads, we're giving money to public safety. When we give money to infrastructure, I think we're giving money to public safety. And public safety, I think right now in our budget, takes up more than 60% of that budget. So all five of us up here care about public safety. We've done really well with Teresa's guidance. I must brag on her again, getting our road SPLOST back in order. We're in the black. We've got some money in case we need to, we've had a lot of washouts and stuff, so we've had some money to do that in our SPLOST. I would love to see some of that money from our roads, go down to the fire departments. 11, 12 fire departments sharing what they share is just, to be quite honest, it's just hard to keep up. Our volunteer firemen have to do the exact same thing that paid fire departments have to do. They have to keep up the same standards, have to keep them all in the same gear. They have jobs. I just can't say enough about our fire departments.
I will say Commissioner Kirk, he did echo that as well.
Good. And, he might be a little more biased than I am.
Well, I know. And he also echoes the recreation department.
Right. And so, but, caring about kids is also important. It's just these I guess, predictions of what we would get. It's always nice, to see our economy get better, and I hope it keeps going that way, but you also have to think about that as well. You might not get as many dollars as what you're projecting, and so you have to think about that as well. But if we can take care of some of these outliers, the election, the old courthouse, stuff like that, I do believe we could do some of that in our reserves and outlay, and then try to help as much of this, road, sheriff, EMS, fire, 911, IDA. I feel like that's all public safety, in my opinion, one way or the other. I know that the IDA, a lot of the money they get, they do a lot of grants. That's a lot of matching grant money, I suppose, that they could have too. So I think that giving the IDA a little bit more money to get our infrastructure in so we can get these industry and these businesses in would be big, because they can get the most bang for their buck over there. Hopefully the senator will lead them in a good direction. I hate Derek not being on there, but be sure to hear him. But I hope everyone has anything to talk about will call me, 338-4282. Y'all know the area code. Give me a call. If I don't answer, leave me a message. I'll call you back, and we'll talk about it. And my mother thinks I'm the smartest person alive, but I am not. Okay, and so I don't think of everything.
$2 million a year. If that's not available, then you have one of two choices in the county. You got to either cut $2.2 million out of your budget, or you got to get it from somebody else. And neither of those choices are that appealing. So I want you to know that equates to roughly a $3 million increase in millage. That's another thing, a little over $3 million. So yeah, we'll never say that again. I just want to throw that out there. All right, anything else on that? We better move on to the next item. We're moving on. All right. Next item is discuss bids for cleaning service. We had a an RFP that went out and had a number of people that sounded interested, but we received a grand total of 1 bid for this. And each of the commissioners has a copy of that information. Ms. Mary Douglas is a local person, and you have what she has submitted. And again, we won't be voting on it, but I'd ask you to look at it, and if there's any questions, please, you know, if you can't reach her, her information is, I don't think it's on here. Or I can get it for you. That was the only question. Oh, it is at the top. There you go. And if you'd like to contact her directly, or if you want me to do it, just let me know what your question or concern is, and you'll see that largely these are different facilities within the county, and it's the frequency that changes for the most part. It is a starting point. Once we get this in place, we'll be able to address whether or not it's adequate or if we need to move some stuff around. But I'd ask that you take a look at that and be ready to vote on that at the end of the month. So, any discussion or questions on that?
Do you need any help on the cleaning for anybody? Is that kind of like quarters or something like that?
As far as we have inmate details that do perform cleaning services. I would share with you, if you've ever been up here on a day when they hold traffic court and you see 400 people run through this building, it's different. It's very different. And traffic court usually happens on Friday. It's a long 3 days for that thing to sit just like it is. The cleaning service would allow or permit somebody to come in on the weekend to help out on that. Plus, there's some folks that get a little angry from time to time on the court system. I just don't even want to share with you what that looks like. So, but it's long overdue, and we want to be proud. We want people that come here, you know, to know that we care, and we're trying to address that.
Mr. Chair, in regard to the bid being approved next, more likely being approved next time before we bring it up, but I guess my question or request from the county attorney is, I notice here it says a proof of insurance will be provided once a bid is accepted. I know sometimes it's chicken or egg kind of thing, so I think if we can get the appropriate language for that approval, or recommended approval language from an attorney, that way we're not locking in a bid that we can't get the documents that we need.
Right. We didn't discourage it. We didn't discount it. I'm just saying they never followed through and actually presented the bid. So, anything else on that? Our next item then is is to consider, actually, I request that you actually consider for a vote tonight to approve the resolution for a Georgia Heritage Grant. There's a copy of the application, the signature page of this. This application needs to be completed and submitted by July 1st. And it is a 60-40 grant. We have money that was collected in 2008 SPLOST. And then in 2014, we rolled some of that over, or we continued the collection rather under a new effort under the old courthouse. And there's approximately, right now there's 112,000. At the conclusion, there should be 120, a little bit more than $120,000 aside for that. That's what I'm asking to pledge as our 40%. We will treat that much like we have with the disbursement for the fire departments. If we end up having to commit that to courts collected, then we will put that back in as it comes in.
That's where the supplemented back to general funds.
Correct. That is exactly right.
Yes.
Oh, well, and that is, let's see, yes. So what I do need tonight, though, in order to be able to submit this, is I need vote to approve the resolution, the Georgia Heritage Grant Program application, and I can move forward with that.
So moved, Chairman.
Second.
Motion second. Any comment or discussion, any questions on that?
I have a question. I'm not opposed to it. I guess for clarity, do we need the specifics, I never say that other word. Do we need the specifics of where the funding would be coming from in the resolution as opposed to just our full faith and effort of it? It just seems to lock us in something if we choose to have another opportunity.
Right. I do know that, I forwarded the application to the county attorney, and the reason I did that, though, is because it is a provision, it is a requirement of the application that we have a board resolution committing the funds. Now, if the question is, do we need to get specific, is it coming from SPLOST or whatever, between you and I don't know that there's any hope of doing this if it's not SPLOST. I don't know that, that money.
And that SPLOST money's already collected in the prior two, that's.
Right, and there's a provision, right, and the provision for the 2008 SPLOST is that it be expended by June of 20, is that correct?
Right.
So that money has to be expended for the purpose of a courthouse improvement or upgrade or renovation. So, in answer to your question, it may not have been completely necessary to put it in there.
Would be necessary because that's what people voted to commit this block.
Well, it wasn't necessary as far as the grant program requirements.
And that's what he's asking.
I put that in there because I thought it might make the commissioners feel better to have it specified. If you feel better without it, then you can take that part out.
Was your question, are we committing funds that we don't have? Was that what you were asking?
No, not necessarily. It was just having seen several of these types of grants and stuff in the past. I think I just was unaccustomed to seeing it so specific, giving opportunities elsewhere.
Point taken for future consideration, and I agree. I will share two things that probably make this a little easier to live with right now is the award happens fairly quick. It's within a few months of the submission date. So you would know whether or not it's committed or going to be freed back up at that point. So you would have that remaining time to expend it if necessary. So
in 1996, Ms. Holloman sent us over there for a senior court day, and we got rained out on the inside.
In 96.
And it ain't been leaking ever since.
96.
1996.
How old Tripp is?
Yeah.
all right. We have a motion and a second. Any other comment or discussion on that? The vote will go to Commissioner Doster.
Yes.
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 I will be about my business on that. Next one is a discussion item, not to be acted upon tonight, but you have, as part of your information, the arrangement, the proposed agreement with the public defender, or the public defender's office. Madison County is one of 5 counties in the circuit. We jointly support the office of the public defender. Their total budget they're projecting for 2019-2020 is $413,359. Madison County portion of that is $119,875. Man, I get kind of nervous around these numbers. $119,875. So that will be what you're committing when you vote to support the agreement. And it'll be in the form of a resolution as well.
I will say it looks like our numbers are getting better and Franklin County is getting worse.
I think Franklin County is just getting worse and making it look a lot better. I mean, I'd be all right with me if our numbers went down.
Oh, I know. Well, we got like Donald Trump, make everybody else pay.
We got to get into that stick at the beginning of this.
That is exactly right. So, yeah, this is on 5-year rolling average of caseload. So, when ours was going up, we were on the good side of that. As ours goes down, it'll take 5 years for that to catch up.
Yeah.
So, any questions on that, I would ask if there's something I can clarify, I'd be happy to do it. If there's I know, the county attorney has seen this 19 years now. I don't know how long it's been in effect, probably not that long, but.
It hasn't, yeah, I mean, I'll be 20 years come January, and it hasn't changed. It changed in '04, substantially when the state started putting in significant defense funding finally, which was somewhat billed by the state legislators as we're picking this up. Well, of course they didn't, but it's a lot better. So, that number, that 400-something thousand, is actually not the total budget. That's what the 5 counties contributed. The state is also contributing to that.
Any other comment or discussion on that particular item? And again, that will be for a vote on the 24th.
You know, it talks about in here, $2,000 refund from the state stemming from some payroll corrections. And so it affects that again this year. I'm going to talk to, call them and see what that's about.
I honestly don't I remember some explanation of that last year. Frankly, I don't remember what it is now. If you'll just ask Harvey, yeah, we'll ask Harvey and we'll find out what that was. The state.
All right. Any other comments on that one? We'll take it for consideration at the end of the month. Our last business item is to discuss Recreation Department's facility use agreements, and each of you has a copy. And it actually, what you have is it speaks to some of the comments that we've had tonight. And I know that there's a reasonably long-standing history between Little League Baseball and Madison County. As there is with the Madison County Youth Association of Football. And these are, in fact, I'm trying to, my Alzheimer's didn't kick in, I forget what I was asked earlier. These agreements that we have with the county are spelled out here. This facilities use agreement does actually set the terms. So one of the reasons we don't run concessions, just to kind of clear that up, is because the manning in our rec department is such that when the decision was made to accommodate or to permit Little League and MCYA, is that we did not have the manning, and we weren't going to bring manning on. This is before my time, but I understood this to be the case. Is a decision was made, we actually reduced the manning at our rec department. And when you reduce, I know the government will tell you that you need to do more with less, but in reality, you don't get more, you will get less. And so one of the items that was cut was the concessions at the ball field. And the decision was made that if they wanted it, they would provide that. And so you're right, the individuals that do run that are not county employees. Reason this is on our agenda tonight is because much like so many other things, the way we do things has changed. And many, whether it's travel ball, we'll speak specifically to sports right now. A lot of people have different interests. Some of them want to play for recreation. Some of them want to play to get good, to play again next year and the year after and after and after. And they have perhaps aspirations to go on and do it, at a collegiate and even professional level. By and large, I think those numbers are relatively small. They start out, everybody wants to play, pro. But Mother Nature has a way sometimes of shaking us into reality. We realize maybe we're not quite that. But it doesn't change the desire to play. And it doesn't change, I believe, the county's desire to provide the opportunity for that. So what is before the board here, and again, this is discussion tonight, it would be for a vote at the end of the month, would be to determine or to decide whether they want to continue with these agreements, or if you want to modify them, if you want to disband, that will be the decision. It comes at a convenient time, because again, in June 14th, when we sit and talk budget in our rec department, this decision here probably needs to play into that a little bit. If you're going to make a decision about taking over a program, you might want to make
Little League board meetings. I've been on their website, it has the board members, but it doesn't have anybody, I'm just curious.
I can get that for you.
Will you get that for me?
I definitely get it.
I didn't know Zach might know the paper, I know.
And I'm remiss because I'm pinged every month, prior to their meeting, asking if we have an input.
I got an input.
Yeah, so.
Okay, cool. Hey, I'd like to go to their meeting, so if you could email me that.
I'll do it.
Sure would appreciate it.
It's my understanding, I haven't, this has not been, but I've heard it from two different sources that the president's resigned.
Oh, really? Because I've talked to my rec department board member, about this, and me and him both are probably going to go to the next one just to see what's going on, talk to some folks. Because I've seen the emails, there's not many situations in this county that I get more contact than about roads. And I've gotten more contact about this than roads, not just from you guys, but other people. So this is, it really is, it's worrisome. I grew up in that rec department. But yeah, if you'll give me that, I just want to make sure I'm at that next meeting.
I've got 3 small kids, so I've almost set up residents of recreation department. But, I never go without getting some kind of negative feedback about Little League. And, to be quite honest, my own child was not moved up this year because of some of that. It's definitely a problem, and several years ago you had to have a National League and an American League, and you had 2 different all-star teams. And Valerie, you played with my sister. My goodness, what a great program they had. You were a good ball player too. And so was Adrian. And
Mo.
You're all great.
I grew up with a complex because when Teresa was there, she always called me Jake. Absolutely no comparison. I can't chew chewing gum and walk straight. But anyway, I had a good time. And I just hate to see you did that to me. Sure thought. But
I got you two mixed up.
Made it clear. Just a little blonde-headed boy from Booger Hill Road. Yeah. But anyway, well, that was a cut, wasn't it? Yeah.
Sorry.
He's
a little taller than you.
But I forgot my point now. Maybe my Alzheimer's kicked in. But I hate to see the rec department come to what it's come to. When it's just not enough people to even play. We had 2 teams. I know that I've talked to coaches that have coached all the way through that were told that they didn't need them, and so they took their children elsewhere. The coach of my son's team said, we're going to start a travel ball team if things don't change. So it's not just that these people are going out to, John was saying there's very little people that are good enough to go and keep going and all the way up. The rest of them are out there playing travel ball because they, don't have, because of the situation. So let's bring them back home. And if we're going to get fussed out, if we're going to get the complaints, we ought to be able to do something about it and be in control of it. But, get off my stuff.
Well, I worked there, back when y'all were in high school. Good times there. Some of the best, and what a great, the one thing about Madison County, there's generations of families here, and such a sense of community. It does hurt my heart to hear some of these stories, but I was a 3rd professional member there on the programming staff, and that assisted in the supervision and the concession stand workers, which I think is a wonderful job.
Principals.
But exactly. But there are options. GRPA was talking with Robin the other day, and they have an 8 and under with pitching machine, 8 and under with coach pitch, 10 and under live pitch. You know, they have state tournaments. If it is an option to go to, well, something's not working, well, let's try something else. And if it is, like you said, we're going to have to encounter it in the budget. However, if it's for the benefit of our community, our generations of families, then I think we really need to look at it strongly.
I've heard some similar complaints. I guess my question or request back to the chair would be to, if the rec department and recreation board could give some guidance as the budget ideas start coming forward, that we can not just be reactive to it, we'd have some information beforehand so we would have the ability to make a better decision.
I will do that. I've already spoken with, in response to one of the other earlier comments too, regarding, you know, it is difficult sometimes to sit here and not answer your question, because I would like to let you know that I'll be as involved as they need me to be, but I need to be as involved as little as they need me to be. And my approach is to always go to the department head, and that is what I did. I asked already to help with, you know, if we take the program back, if that were to be the option or their direction, registration would fund that extra position. So I always like to get a solution with the question or the problem. I mean, like I said, you know, you can look good because you're smart, or you can look good because everybody else makes you look good, you know, and I like looking good. I need that. I need a little help there. So they're working it. I will share with you, though, that when we meet back, I'll try to have the information ready as in addition to the meeting times for the board, and we'll go from there. But questions, please contact the rec department. Get the information firsthand if you have. So. Any other comments, questions on that? All right. I've been told I say all right too much too. All right. Roads update. I've got, they are resurfacing the old Highway 72. And upon the completion of that, that will be turned back over to the county. And with that comes maintenance on the old Highway 72. So we need it to be in pristine shape when we get it. And we do get credit for the mileage, though. That's a good thing. That's a very good thing. The pipe or the culvert washed out on Duncan Swindle a few weeks back. There has been a delay in getting the box culvert, concrete pipe that goes under that, has been delayed. I don't remember that date, Ron, did you? June 20th. So
Hopefully June 20th.
Right. June 20th is when the piece should be here, so we'll get started on that. They are starting the work on Short, Seagraves, and O'Kelly tomorrow. That's right. So those will go back in place, and we'll be a little bit better than we are right now. Any other items that I might need to pass on to Derek? And it is theirs until it's not. And I learned, and I don't know how this works, but there's an offer, but there has to be acceptance. So when they get it ready, part of this arrangement was to resurface and stripe and have everything good to go order them. So we have a close relationship with our local DOT in Carnegie, Robert Simpson, and he will help us with that. So we'll make sure that's good.
There'll be 100 driveways cut in that case.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tree limbs. I keep getting that call. I know the boom truck's been.
I'll check on that, and you know that would be a great topic for SPLOST.
Your boom truck, or one of those.
I need one of those. Yeah.
The flipping up the sides of the roads, you know, they've been working on that. Kitty, that's looking good.
They are doing a real good job, and the county has started spraying too, for those people that may or may not be aware of that. Spraying lasts a lot longer than cutting. Just smoke, please don't clip that thing out. And I know we have some folks back here that'll share with you how, there's not a day goes by now that we're not getting calls on these grass fires, so, please, you know,
Just stop smoking.
yeah. It's gross.
Sorry. My public service announcement.
All right. Is there anything else on urgent matters?
No, sir.
Executive session?
Yes, sir.
All right, all I need is motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second. Motion and second, Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, folks, for coming.
Okay.
Bye.